Good evening, LTL Nation, and welcome back to the 7-Minute Breakthrough Revolution. Tonight on Life Talks Live, we're talking about fear, a word, a term that has for so long been associated with a negative connotation. But why so, I wonder? You see, if it hasn't been for fear, you and me right now, none of us would actually exist if it weren't for fear. How's that? My name is Faisal Zeineddine and you guys are watching Life Talks Live. And before I begin today, I want to address something that happened over the weekend. You see, on Thursday I asked people, what do you think your biggest fear is? What is it that you fear the most? And I got a lot of answers that came in, and from these answers I was able to conclude two things. And I want to start with my first conclusion. You see, from the answers that I got, there was something that I found very peculiar. Particular fears in line with what people were doing in life right now. And these seem to be their biggest fears in life. And I'm going to give you some examples. For example, I got a friend called John Prather. If you look at this guy's Facebook page right now, you're going to find out that the guy's a mountaineer, he's an adventurer, and a camper. And ultimately, his biggest fear in life is this: being exposed on a mountaintop during a violent thunderstorm with lots of lightning, or surprising a grizzly bear on the trail, on the camping trail. Those are his biggest fears. Another friend of mine, a good friend, Abu Ismail, and this guy has been working with the Lebanese Red Cross for the longest time. And right now on his Facebook page you'll find it as well. His biggest fear in life: being sick and disabled. Very in particular and in line with what these people are doing in their lives right now. And these things have become their biggest fears. And from there, another particular thing comes across us. And this is a fear that was the most common answer that I got from everyone. My good friends Fida Faqih and her husband, Hamad Awada, started a family not so long ago. And now they have 2 kids, and God bless them and their children and their whole families. And their biggest fears in life? Losing a family member. At this current time, that's their biggest fear. And that answer is an answer that I got from so many people. Sara Abu Kamil, Bellissima Beloni, Ahlam, Nagam, Sally Kordab, Jamila Babaki, and Lara. A lot of people gave me that answer. And I started to think about it for a moment. Why are people fearing death so much? I mean, if we think about it for a moment, we get to realize that death is a certain part of life. It is something that is going to happen no matter how much we fear it or how much we anticipate it happening. Death is part of the circle of life. And the truth is, without death, there wouldn't be a real meaning and a true essence to life. I don't know if you've heard of a guy called Neil deGrasse Tyson. This guy is one of the most famous scientists in the world right now. And in an interview not so long ago with Larry King on CNN, he was asked this: do you fear death? He said no. Don't you fear the unknown? He said no. Well, wouldn't you like to live forever and be immortal? And automatically his answer was no way. And he asked why. It's a beautiful thing to actually live that long. He said no. The truth is that death gives us this need, this urgency to express our love, to actually get out there and do the work, because we know that we have a limited time in life and we're not here forever. If we were to live here forever, then why get out of the bed in the morning? Why even bother? Why even try to solve the mysteries of life? Why try to find a cure? Why try to improve our life? Why even bother to express your love to everyone? If we were to live forever, there would be no meaning, no beautiful meaning to this life that we have. You see, I love my mom and dad, I love my brothers, I love my family, but I know for a fact that I can't stop anyone from dying. But if I allow that fear to be my motivation to express my love towards them, to make sure that every second counts, that every moment that I have with them is something I can cherish, then I can turn that fear around into something amazing, into a drive for life. It is a circle and we're all living in it. So we have to turn it around. And this is what our elderly, Our ancestors, they all did that in the past. It was fear that kept them alive. And I don't want fear to freeze you in your place, to cripple your mind, to cripple your body, no. But see, if it wasn't for fear, our ancestors would not have ran away from that beast. If it wasn't for fear, they wouldn't have put up a fight. If it wasn't for fear, they wouldn't have tried to find shelter and create shelter and tried to find the right tools to sustain and survive. Fear was the drive, but they turned it around from fear into something great. And that is what you need to do. Do not fear death. Cherish it for what it is and make the most out of life. So moving on from there, we had another type of fear that people expressed. And this is a sort of self-development kind of fear, self-achievement kind of fear that is very particular to ourselves, that we want to actually do something, be remembered for it. And it's a fear that, by the way, you get to control. For example, here I got Hadil Hassan, my utmost fear is leaving this place as a passerby and not be remembered. Lalita Taylor's biggest fear is failure. Muhammad Amin, losing my passion. Wissam Basiri, not achieving greatness in life. And his greatness is achieving something self-satisfying. It's self-satisfaction. And he doesn't want to ever achieve that to stay on the road. So his fear is automatically pushing him towards what he truly desires. Nur Husseini, what ifs, the possibilities in this world. Sarah Merri, fear that I might be on the wrong path. Nina Abu Ayyash, taking the journey of who am I too late in life. Marianne Hamad, the worst fear is settling down for a career or a relationship, settling down. In other words, not having enough power or courage to take decisions. And that is also a very important kind of fear, but it is you that gets to control that. Your mind is going to control your decisions from here on end. So as long as you're in the right mindset, nothing's going to change that. Rula Munzir, I fear routine, something you can control as well. Rami Zeineddine, what I fear the most is not being what I want to be in the future. And you see, all these fears revolve around the same idea. Us not being able to make what we want out of our own lives. But again, it is something that we have all the control over. But here's the trick that you might be missing, guys. See, in life, you're going to be faced with multiple decisions and multiple insane amount of options every day. And you're going to choose one out of a million. You're going to be moving around and in between a million parallel universes that you could end up on if you took a little different decision in life. But the truth is, the decision that you decide is the one that gives meaning to your life. And no matter what decision you choose, it is you and your decisions that are giving meaning to it. And it will be the same meaning as long as you're the one taking those decisions, as long as no one is making those decisions for you. That is where the whole game changes. Be sure that you are in control, and whatever outcome comes your way, the meaning is the same because ultimately you decided. So make sure that your fear that you have now is also the drive to make the most out of your decisions. As well as these fears, guys, I had some emotional fears. I'm going to just go through them before we move on. I had Zaina Hassan being left behind, loneliness. Lydia Kanaan, fear of intimacy. Rana Shaitu feared fear itself. And Zakiya Khan, her worst fear that she'll never be entirely comfortable in her own skin. And she won't be able to love herself and ultimately be left alone. And with these fears, I had one answer that was really close to the answers that I truly wanted to hear. A guy, my friend Johnny Kunijian, sent me this. He's afraid of the end of beautiful things. The end of beautiful things. So when I heard that, I pressed him. I said, what do you mean, Johnny, by the end of beautiful things? And he said, well, I'm leaving the country, I'm leaving football behind, I might be leaving a lot of people I love, and the end of beautiful things is what scares me and frightens me. That's my biggest fear. And so he shifted from the answer that I truly wanted to back into the personal realm, which is, and I told him, you know what? Good things will come to an end. Beautiful things will come to an end, only to open doors for other beautiful things, maybe even better things. But yes, that's life. Beautiful things end. Life itself gets to end, and we get to choose what to do after that. Now, if you noticed, I talked about the fear that I wanted to hear. I heard all these fears. And God bless you all, and thank you so much for sharing them. And I know that these fears might mean a lot to you. But these are microscopic fears, on the micro level of the me, the I. And when I got to thinking, I was hoping that someone would give me something a little bit bigger than that. It's not that it's wrong. There is no wrong or right. There is no fear that's wrong or right. Some people might be afraid of clowns while other people laugh hysterically. Some people are afraid of mines while other people drop dead laughing. There is no right or wrong in fear, but if you take a step back and grow out from the you, from the me, this is what I would probably fear. I do have my small fears, but it doesn't matter. Why don't we fear our egos? Why don't we fear superiority? Why don't we fear racism? Why don't we fear mass destruction and wars? Why don't we fear hatred? Why don't we fear labels and borders and boundaries? Why don't we fear climate change and pollution and what technology is doing to the human race? Why don't we fear these things? Why aren't we not terrified to our core about these things? See, Carl Sagan says it best when he turned the camera that was floating over Neptune towards Earth, and the Earth looked like the smallest blue pale dot, and realized that we are nothing but a fraction of a speck floating in a sunbeam. That is all who we are. And we have to make ourselves bigger in our thinking and fear what might be the end of ourselves, because no one's going to come out of the space right now and save us from ourselves, from what we are doing to each other. So I would ask you to implement and implant these fears in your mind. Let them terrify you only to be a drive for change. And just to express that, I'm going to end with a little quote. You know, we were terrified as human beings when we wanted to go and reach for the moon. We were terrified. Of course, we were leaving Earth, our planet, and we didn't know what to expect. And John F. Kennedy went live on television, and this was part of his speech. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will allow us to organize and calculate our abilities and our skills. And that challenge is one that we are willing to accept and unwilling to postpone. And it is one which we intend to win, and the others too. So allow that fear, guys, to be your drive, to move you towards the goals you want to set. Do not be afraid of them. Turn them around and move on. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Tune in with Shadon tomorrow and the rest of the coaches during the week, and I will see you next week. If you have any feedback, any questions, you know how to find us. Our Facebook fan page at Life Talks Live, or our website at lifetalkslive.com. You can even find us on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram on Life Talks Live. It was a pleasure being with you tonight, and I will see you next week. Have a very blessed night, ladies and gentlemen. Over and out.